Hello and welcome to the WriteCome.com podcast, where we help you to make money from your words. Each episode will be sharing tips, tricks, and strategies you can use to make more money from your writing, publishing, and marketing to your fans and audience. Let's get started with your host, Barry J. McDonald.
Hi, this is Barry here, and you are very welcome to today's podcast episode from WriteCome.com. And today's podcast episode is entitled A Change of Perspective. Now, yesterday I was just kind of playing around on the Kindle. I was going through the daily deals or the monthly deals that were on sale at the moment, and I came upon a book that I probably would have never really thought of getting before, but because it was on a deal, I said I'd download it. Now, the book is, it's all about walking, because I do a lot of walking with my dog, so that's what kind of drew me to it. But what it does is it goes into a lot of information about nature and things like that, like how to find out maybe the time of day by looking at what angle the sun's at and the stars, and how to read nature, like how to know if you are walking in the right direction, maybe using a tree route as a compass, or all these different things, stuff that I probably would have never really thought about before. But it always impressed me when I used to watch movies, maybe with maybe Native Americans in it, or somebody who was maybe a tracker or something like that, and you used to see the character maybe chewing on a blade of grass, or maybe holding it up in the air and letting it fall and saying, oh, they walk this way, or they set up a campfire here about 3 or 4 hours ago, or whatever. I was always impressed by someone who had those skills. So I suppose there is a little bit of a kind of the Boy Scout in me that said, well, give it a go and see what it's like. And I have to tell you, the first couple of pages, I have learned a lot from it. And simple things like, when it comes to looking at mountains, knowing if maybe a glacier has slid over that mountain and what direction it came from, and things like that I would never really thought about before. And, the more I'm reading it, the more I'm kind of looking at nature in a different way. I can see all these kind of telltale signs and, stuff that I would have walked past before I never really considered or really thought much about. So it is kind of changing my perspective in the way I'm looking at things. And the more I thought about that, the more I kind of said to myself, well, for a lot of us, sometimes when we change our perspective, we see things in a completely different way. Whereas maybe we've seen something in one way the day before, maybe something happened to us, maybe it was an accident, or maybe we gained a little bit of knowledge, or we found out a bit more information, and then suddenly our perspective changed. Maybe the neighbour across the road was always cranky and, never said good morning to you, and then you found out maybe that this person was suffering from depression, or maybe they'd lost a spouse recently or something like that. Maybe some information that you didn't know before, but now that you know it, you look at that person in a different way. Or maybe in your own business, you thought, well, this is the way I need to set up my website or my blog. And then suddenly maybe you found a video today that told you that you were doing it wrong. And now that because you've learned what the right way to do it is, you are looking at your blogging in a completely different way, or your business is going in a completely different direction from that. And the more I thought about, the more I kind of, the idea of perspective in that, how I remember, I think it was either Bob Proctor had said it, or it was Wayne Dyer or somebody who said one time that, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at changes. And like, as I said, when it comes to nature now, I'll probably look at trees and bushes and things like that I probably didn't really pay much attention to. But because I have that extra bit of information now, I can probably look at trees in a different way, and I can probably see, well, this is where the sun shines on them and blah, blah, blah. Things like I would never have thought before. So I have a little bit of information now that's making me see them in a different way. And when I was thinking about it, for a lot of us maybe who are maybe hiring coaches and, maybe buying training programs, a lot of us probably know a lot of the information already, I remember years ago when I was buying report after report after report, thinking that I needed to find a magical ingredient that would help me with my online business. And what I'd found was I had gone on the full circle. I had gathered tons and tons of information, and what I'd found was I was coming back on myself again. The reports that I was buying was stuff that I already knew, but I wasn't putting that into action. And the reason I wasn't putting it into action was because I was looking at that information from a certain angle. And it was only when I hired a coach and, they showed me the exact same things, but showed me the reason why I needed to do it like that. It changed my perspective, and I never looked back the other way. I would look at maybe building an email list. The reason I needed to build an email list was because of this particular reason, or the reason I needed to blog so often was because of this, or the reason I needed to create digital products was because of that reason. And I think a lot of us maybe who buy digital products or who buy coaching and things like that, we probably have all the information already, but what we need somebody to change our perspective, to make us look at that information in a completely different way. And as I said, as Wayne Dyer said, when you change the way you look at things, the things that you look at will change. So have a look at your business today, and maybe you look at your business maybe in a certain way, but one trick that you could try was something that I heard Napoleon Hill say many, many years ago, was that when he had a problem, he was probably looking at that problem through his eyes. And what he used to do was he used to maybe set up different places on the table where maybe he would have someone like George Washington. Even though George Washington was probably dead, he would kind of envision George Washington sitting at the table. And what he would do was he would say to George Washington, "This is the problem that I have, George. How would you handle it?" And what he did was he kind of allowed his mind to imagine his mind being George Washington. And what he did was he looked at that problem from George Washington's point of view. How would George Washington solve my problem? Or how would Thomas Edison solve my problem? Or how would this person? All these people that he thought were experts that probably would be able to solve that problem. He mentally kind of lifted himself into their bodies and thought, how would they think through this problem? How would they come up with a solution? What way would they look at that? Would they give up right now, or would they keep going? Or what way would they build their business? Or what products would they make? And questions that he would be stumped at. And maybe, if you find maybe where you are right now, maybe the perspective that you're looking at, maybe you need to change your perspective. Maybe you need to look at your business in a completely different way. Maybe take someone who you think is a really big expert, or somebody that you admire, somebody that's got great business skills. You may never ever come into contact with this person. You might never be able to hire them as a coach or whatever, but maybe just, write down what the problem is and just think to yourself, how would this particular person solve this problem? How would they raise the money? How would they come up with an idea for a blog post? How would they write this email today? What digital product would they create? And just, as I said, sometimes that little mental thing, it's only a small thing. You're just simply looking at that problem from a different perspective. But because you're looking at that problem from a different angle, you'll probably come up with a solution to that. Or you'll probably come up to, product ideas or business ideas you never ever thought before, because you're looking at it through your eyes. Whereas if you look at it through someone else's eyes, that perspective will probably make you look at your business fresh and make you look at it in a different way. So that is my kind of little of a ramble today. As I said, that book kind of made me think about how I look at things and the perspective that we have. And, even with just a small bit of information, we can look at things in a completely different way. And again, too, even when I look back through things I did before, when I got into blogging, when I got into fiction writing, it's funny, a day or two beforehand, I thought to myself, well, I could never be a blogger, or I could never write blog posts regularly, or I could never write fiction books. And when I wrote that fiction book and hit publish, straight away I said to myself, you are able to write fiction books. You were able to do it a couple of days back, but you probably feel that you can do it now because you've hit publish, and because your book is on the Kindle store. Suddenly I was seeing myself as a fiction writer, and I was kind of looking at whatever I was doing next through the eyes of a fiction writer. I could write another fiction book, or I could write another blog post because I'd already blogged. So sometimes from where you are right now, maybe you might be a little bit scared. You might say to yourself, I'm not experienced, I can't do this. Sometimes you just need to just change your perspectives a little bit, and then you'll find that all those ideas will come to you, or you'll be able to write fiction, or you'll be able to blog, or you'll be able to do podcasts. Sometimes, as Wayne Dyer said again, I'll say it to you, sometimes when you change the way you look at things, the way things look are completely different. So as always, if you'd like to maybe change your perspective a little bit, in one way you could do it is creating your own digital products. But I know a lot of people are fearful. How do I create it? What do I do? I'm going to give you the simplest idea that you can create a digital product on. Now, what is that idea? It's simply selling and packaging up your internet history. Now you're probably wondering, well, how do I do that? What steps do I take? I'm going to show you everything. I've got a free video course. If you head over to writecome.com, that's WRITECOME.com, put your email into the opt-in box, and I will send that video course directly on to you. So as always, have a lovely day. Take care of yourself. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us today. If you'd like more from the RightCome.com podcast, be sure to subscribe now for more tips, tricks, and ideas you can use to make more money from your words. See you in the next episode.